Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you every week from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful ice of the Galactic Empire. Join your hosts, John Mark Tolley, Garrett K. Jones, and Brian Karasik, as they discuss the various facets of the saga's lore, characters, review the films, and discuss every tidbit of news coming out of Lucasfilm. And remember, this isn't just my Star Wars, this isn't just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. And yes, it is indeed our Star Wars. Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Joined again by Brian and Garrett. Both are here as we are continuing our talk of the Star Wars March Madness, Star Wars Madness, whatever you want to call it.
We're calling it March Wars Madness, I think.
March Wars Madness. I like that. And we are in the third round, the Sweet 16, and we have some major upsets, I think, and a lot to talk about. And we're going to go in depth. I can update the brackets as we go through them here. So let me.
Before we jump into this, I want to show you. This is the shirt that I got last week from my cousin. I performed his wedding in Idaho back in November, and as a gift, he got me this beautiful shirt.
Awesome. Wow, that is really nice.
And it's the same art on the back, and it feels nice. It's beautiful.
That's a really silky fabric, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think I know where he got that. I have a shirt very similar with my Oogie Boogie cosplay on it.
I'm hoping it fits because I'm a bit broad in the shoulders, and
we get it. You lift.
No, I don't. The closest I get is picking up my 8-year-old.
That counts.
I will bench press him from time to time, but he doesn't make it easy because he starts wiggling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just adds to the challenge.
Yes, it does. All right, let's do this.
Well, let's start with our first round, or this second round, and so you got some of the updates.
Yeah, this is the Coruscant bracket, right?
I'm sorry, because of who I am as a person, this is going to bother me. Are we sold on the spelling of Padme in this bracket?
Yeah.
I was in a rush. Okay.
Okay. I say it with love.
There's some of them that I'm just like, I have no idea. Just whatever.
We can update it in real time.
Yes.
Okay. So,
it doesn't matter because he was eliminated, but I think everybody knew Qui-Gon Jinn was going to defeat Chooper.
Chooper? Yes.
I didn't even see that.
Although now I want to have a drink with Qui-Gon Jinn because he sounds like the most fun Jedi ever.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Darth Pedanticus, Galactic Proofreader.
I love that you're that guy because I'm that guy in our BS chat for Feast of Fandoms. All right, so
I have a joke, but it would probably get us canceled considering how YouTube is with the no Germans.
Oh yeah.
I always like the joke that like when the KKK was formed way back in the day, there was one guy in the back like, oh yeah, I hate him. I hate him too. Hey guys, shouldn't it be KKC? just say it. Anyway, cut that out. Cut that out in editing.
Yes.
Anyway, I did recuse myself from the voting. I don't think it's fair. I really am surprised that Palpatine was removed, but I'm sure he will be back somehow. He'll be back in the last round.
Somehow Palpatine will return.
It would be actually now that we've made that joke, we can't do it, but it would be funny to have just put him back in the second, like as the second to last. Like, yeah, I don't.
Hey, it worked for Hondo.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So
Hondo.
Okay.
He tricked us again.
So yeah. Okay. So for Coruscant, going on to round 3, we have Vader.
All right. Vader goes on.
We have Padme. Are you able to edit her name right there?
No, I'm not, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'll do that. I can do that after. All right, and Yoda versus Qui-Gon.
It is Qui-Gon.
Whoa, an upset.
Yeah, Qui-Gon. It was like he took like
That is
2/3 of
surprising.
the votes. And then
Grievous versus Palpatine.
it turned out to be Grievous.
Grievous with the major upset. Wow.
Yeah, so that's
That was a landslide too, 10-2. That hurts my feelings.
Yeah, it was a little scary.
Yeah.
Um,
I've said it before.
The 10
isn't
the score.
Folks.
The 10 is the number of votes. That was the
okay.
The ranking they were. That was the seeding.
Oh, misreading.
Yeah.
Well, I have said this before, folks, but really the only way you can defeat Palpatine is via metatext and fan theory. So if Palpatine loses to General Grievous in this bracket, I think it's fair. It's very in character.
Yeah. I mean, do we really think that Padme even has a shot in the next round against Lord Vader?
Well,
I don't know.
Vader
I'm glad they ended up together though, finally.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. This is true, but I mean, it's arguably the most popular character in the Star Wars universe.
Seeing the two of them together again, though, it really chokes me up.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian, you're breaking my heart.
One year I made fake candy hearts for Valentine's Day.
I can't follow.
One year I made fake candy hearts for Valentine's Day on like this online designer. I didn't actually make the candies, but one of them said, I'd give one arm and two legs for you. This begs the question. I would love to have seen Qui-Gon Jinn face off against General Grievous, because like that, I think that would have been. I wish Grievous got more of a show in the film. Like I really liked his Tartakovsky Clone Wars version, but arguably, the guy kills Jedi. Like it's canonical, but from what we see, it seems more likely he found all those lightsabers when some Jedi dropped them. Like you never see him in a fight. He's like, peace. Like he's just Audi 5000 as soon as he gets the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. What's our next bracket?
All right, next bracket. It will be.
Okay,
this
Hoth.
is the Hoth bracket.
Okay, so for Hoth, we have Luke versus Lobot, and Luke took the win unanimously.
Obviously. I mean,
did I ever tell you guys when Empire Strikes Back came out, my grandmother, God love her, she knew that I liked Star Wars. She got me a Star Wars toy, and what she got me was a Lobot. And because I was raised correctly, I appreciated it and said thank you for it. But I will say that my grandmother, bless her heart, said, he must be the most important man in the movie. He was the only one on the shelf. Oh, I love her. That's just not how toys work, Grandma, but thanks so much. Did you guys read the Lando? There's a Lando graphic novel, the first one that came out some years ago, where we see when Lobot kind of loses his personality. It's a really great one. Bunch of Sith artifacts, an abandoned relic ship full of ancient mysteries, kind of a ghost story. Look into it. Sorry, I'm not much for basketball, so I'm just going to be providing color commentary on all the characters.
Oh, I've been treating this like hockey, so
okay. See, I grew up in Chapel Hill while Michael Jordan was attending college here, and so I sort of got my fill of basketball. Just topped me right up for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I watch football once a year, and most of the time it's just for the commercials anyway.
I was working in an arcade on downtown Chapel Hill when they won the 1992 national championship, and they made a bonfire in my store. Like, come on, guys. I'm just trying to play Mortal Kombat here. Give me a break.
I want to give you that real Outworld feel. All right, so we had a little bit of a weird situation here with this next round. Captain Rex versus Chewbacca, and it was tied.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So we have to do a deciding vote here.
This is hard because I mean it's Chewie, but it's also. You go first, Brian.
Oh, I vote Chewie.
Chewie. All right. What about you?
I'm voting. Yeah, I'm voting Chewie.
All right, then there it goes. Chewie moves on. I was leaning Rex, but yeah. All right, and then we have Han Solo and R2D2.
R2 won.
Wrong one. All right, a little bit of an upset, but I don't know because R2 is a very. I mean, it is super popular. So I don't know if that's
he's
as big
also
of an upset.
he's also incredibly resourceful.
Yes. And then Wedge Antilles versus Leia Organa.
Again, this was super super unanimous. Leia won by a landslide.
Yeah.
Wedge didn't even stand a chance.
No. Poor Wedge.
I have a strong sneaky suspicion.
When he saw that seat, I feel like Wedge would have just been like, peace. There's just no way.
Yeah. Like I've got a sneaky suspicion here that it's going to end up being the Twins in the semifinals.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, you're probably. All right. So then we move on to the next round. Let me. And I'm going to have to. We have. So in the Tattooine region, round 2. Let me pull it. Well, make sure that I got the right bracket here.
That looks like that.
Right. I think you're right.
Does this one have?
No.
Does this one have?
This is the Endor region.
Oh, this is Endor. Okay.
Endor. For Obi-Wan versus Hera, Obi-Wan took it with 75% of the vote. Again, not surprising for me. I mean, it's. And then we have a tie. Kanan Jarrus and Jyn Erso, 50-50. Yep. Who do we give it to?
Hold on. I'm gonna get my dice roller out here.
Yeah.
If it's above 10, I'm gonna roll a d20. If it's above 10, I'm gonna give it to Jyn. If it's below 10, or below 11, I'm gonna give it to Kanan. And it's a 6, so I'm giving my vote to Kanan.
Okay. I'll go Jyn then.
I gotta go Jyn too.
All right. Jyn Erso moves on to have the enviable task of facing Obi-Wan next round.
Yeah, we were really just picking who's going to lose to Obi-Wan, but regardless.
Yeah. So this, if I remember correctly, yes, this was another landslide. Cassian Endor with 75% of the vote beats Zeb.
I mean, Zeb was a fun character in the context of that one show, but Cassian Andor is a phenomenal character in the context of his own show, not to mention the film in which he was introduced. Bit of an unfair seating. I think Zeb would want to go to the judges on that one.
And in the matchup of Ahsoka Tano versus Space Aladdin, Ahsoka.
You're not kidding. In episode 1, Kanan Jarrus literally calls him a street rat.
Yes. Ahsoka wins with 75% of the vote.
Good. So, incidentally, Ahsoka upset by Ashoka the Great, Emperor of the Indian subcontinent for 80 years. That's why there is an Ashoka in history, and I made a whole.
I know. I always get. I'm always like, now is this the right one? Is this the? Yeah.
It's not the one your phone wants you to type. Ashoka. It was an Indian emperor.
Yeah.
Look him up. Interesting guy. His royal seal is still used as part of the Indian flag.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think
fill in the clues. I mean,
I think in the next round, I don't think Obi-Wan. I mean, I don't think Jen really stands a chance against Obi-Wan.
No one would.
The one I'm more interested in is Ahsoka versus Cassian.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
that could
Ahsoka
be-
takes it just because she has lightsabers. That's like the default
Yeah.
setting. I think Star Wars
Yeah.
fans. If I know my Star Wars fans, and I think I do, they're going to pick a Force user over a badass any day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Prove me wrong, folks, or prove me right.
All right, and in our last bracket, the Tattooine bracket.
Okay,
Boba Fett versus Moff Gideon.
Hold on a second before you jump into this. I want to just make a statement here. Of the things that I've noticed, not only did we have Hondo on 2 separate brackets, we have a character who got completely overlooked by not only the prequel films, but by our bracket system.
Who is that?
Darth Maul.
Oh, you're
brutal.
right. Oh, you know what? I was talking to some friends of mine about what we're doing, and I think next time we need to just take a whole episode, and instead of just because I basically let AI do set the brackets up, but we need to go through and just do a whole episode where we like look through all the characters and kind of do the seeding ourselves. So we can kind of get like, okay, here's who we really want for the number 1 seed. Because there's a few in here that I would not have put for number 1 and number 1 seed. And there's some that were a number 2 or number 3 that I probably would have put at a number 1 seed. Like I probably would have put Yoda at a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
If I was to redo it, I would have put Yoda at a number 1. I would have kept Luke and Vader.
What we could do next time we do something like this is we could do just 2 brackets.
Yeah.
Again, we could still have like 32 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we do light side versus dark side.
Ooh, that's a good. All right. Well, in the first round, the second round of the Tattooine region, Boba Fett versus Moff Gideon. The bounty hunter got it. Boba Fett moves on. Again, 75%. A lot of these were 75. What's the next one? Fennec Shan versus Grief Karga. Again, Fennec Shan takes the win in that one. And then we have
nice one. I'm a fan of Grief Karga, but I think Fennec is a much better character. Space Mulan for the win.
And then
she's doomed in the next round, but good for her getting this far.
Hold on, having a little trouble. And we have another tie. The third seed Kira versus the number 6 seed Bo-Katan.
All right, I'll get my dice out again.
Garrett, I feel like we should count on you for an opinion, not a random number.
I'm kind of indifferent to both characters. Like I like them both. I mean, Bo-Katan is a great kick-ass character, and Kira is played by Daenerys Targaryen,
mother of crate dragons.
Exactly, but like I am not emotionally invested in either character. So,
boy, I am.
You getting the dice though? This is kind of off topic. Reminds me, I can't remember what cartoon it was, but there was a scene. There's a cartoon where there's a scene where someone was meeting Gary Gygax, the creator of D&D, and he's like, "It's a rolls the dice.
Oh,
pleasure to meet you."
Futurama.
Yes, Futurama.
Yeah, well, and they also there was an episode of Big Bang Theory where Sheldon was making all major life decisions by rolling a d20.
Oh. Yes. It was, unless it was the episode of Simpsons where Lisa joins Mensa.
No, I think it was Futurama.
All right, good.
All right, so my previous rule applies. Anything above 10 is going to be for Bo-Katan. Anything below 11 will be for Kira. And I'm actually going to do 3 rolls. And okay, it's Bo-Katan.
All right. I vote Bo-Katan too.
My vote's for Kira. I'll accept the loss.
All right. Bo-Katan moves on, where she will face. What's that?
I was gonna say, who's Bo-Canton?
Yeah, Mark, you and the AI don't get to write public releases anymore.
No. I need to have this sent to a editor before I release it. And then in
Don't you know a guy who's an independently published author?
It hurts my heart to hear him say that, Garrett. Like, this is like when Bobby Hill brings a Spanish-English dictionary with him. Bobby,
Right?
I am your Spanish-English dictionary.
And then in the biggest upset
Published author
of
Garrett Jones and notorious pedant Brian Karasik both outraged at the spelling of these. So who took it between Din and Jabba?
In a huge landslide upset, the number 7 seed Din Djarin, 100% of the votes, takes it against the vile Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting
So,
matchup.
Din Djarin-
I'll be interested to see who takes it between Din and Bo.
That's a good. I mean,
Going to be a close race, folks. Let's see how it turns out. Stay tuned for more March Madness.
I mean, with Boba and Fennec, do you think just because Boba's a name, he had such a huge there's pretty strong Boba Fett fans out there. Do you think Fennec?
I mean, metatextually, and we only know who Fennec Shand is because of her association with Boba Fett. It's going to be hard to picture her.
Which that's kind of ironic. The some of these kind of panned out with the who's facing who in the next round.
Yeah.
As far as their connection to the rest of the. So, yeah.
So, okay. So we have 4 matchups going out on Twitter. That's Endor and Tatooine.
Tatooine.
And then we've got 4 matchups going out on Instagram, and that's Hoth and Coruscant.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll remember to I'll go through and change the spelling of these and make sure that they're accurate. So yeah. And next would be the 8, or as they say in basketball, the Elite 8. Yeah, I mean any
4.
Yes. So are there any matchups that you've seen that you think are going to be that you're looking forward to? And
I'm just curious to see who's going to take the championship on this, because like I know we keep joking, but I keep waiting for either Palpatine to come back somehow, or Hondo to just sneak right in and betray us.
Yeah.
He won't be in the running. There's just when they go to present the award, it'll be gone.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Totally makes sense.
Hondo's ship flying off into the distance. Sorry about that, Bridger.
Oh,
what's interesting? Yeah. This is the most interesting bracket for me. Seeing Boba versus Fennec and Bo versus Din. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, Garrett, not to go too off topic, Garrett, but since you brought up the 20-sided die, I want to introduce. No, but
guys,
I made a tiefling hat.
Nice.
These are just 3D printed horns with a magnet closure, so they just clip through the hat.
Nice.
That's so cool.
Nice.
Why did I make these? I don't know, but I had the idea.
Good. Exactly.
when we went to Disney in 21, I saw a family of people wearing Boston Red Sox ball caps with Mickey ears. And I was like, oh, I didn't know they made those. Like, I look silly in a baseball cap. It looks like I'm wearing a costume and not a good one. You know, like, but I'm just not one of these people who has like a baseball hat demeanor, I guess. But honestly, if you saw me in a baseball hat, you would agree. Like, that doesn't look right on him. But anyway, I asked the dad, I was like, well, that's cool. Where'd you get these ears? He said he 3D printed them, and he showed me the like little curves on the inside with magnets, so they just clip right on. And he based them on the ear design from the official park ears. So they looked quite realistic. It was really neat. I was like, and that day I was like, you know what would be good for that? Horns.
So, Mark, are we able to zoom out and see like the entire bracket system all as like one splash page?
Unfortunately not. I'm not that technologically savvy to do that.
Ooh.
I know.
Ooh.
I know. I had to.
Well,
so
I mean, what you can do is you could start a fifth bracket for our final four, because at that point, that just narrows it down.
Yeah. Let's see. Hold on.
So, okay, did AI pick the characters, or like how did you use AI to work through this whole thing?
Yes, I edited some of them. I edited some of them because it gave me things like Stormtrooper and Snowtrooper, and I'm like, no, I don't want. I want individual characters. I tried to be as specific as I could with the description of what I wanted.
Yeah.
But it's AI. I'm surprised it didn't do, Darth Helmet.
It would have been fun to see how he stacked up. Oh, I have the Palpatine of that Buddha.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a Father's Day gift a couple years ago.
Oh, nice.
That's great. That kid loves you.
Yeah,
fellas, I gotta bow out early here. I'm afraid. I apologize, but it's a great talking with you again. I'll leave the end credits to you guys in any final wrap up. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Actually, Brian, if you want to give your little
blurb,
thing. Yeah,
by all means, folks. If you're on Facebook, and you know you are, come out to the Sith Library and Archives and check myself out, Darth Coruscant, and my fellow archivists out there. It's a lovingly curated collection of Sith-related, Empire-related, First Order-related, anything dark side. We've got what you're looking for at the Sith Library and Archives. Come on down and see us.
All right. So, yeah, that's our bracket for this. I'm really curious to see how it plays out for the remainder of the
me too. It's been fun. It's something a little different. We're gonna see how it goes, and we might do this again next year, but with more planning.
Yes,
definitely
more planning.
Yes. I mean, do we have anything else to really go over?
Well, I mean, the only other thing I can think of is I kind of want to get your thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy's Ross Perot. I'm out. I'm not gonna leave. I am gonna leave, but on my own terms. Whole thing. Like, have you heard much about that?
Not really. I've kind of stay away from that type of a thing as much as I can. I think I think Kathleen Kennedy is one of those that people either give her too much credit as to what's going on or not enough credit. They either go one way or the other. It's either she's the the worst person in the history of cinema, or she's, I just think they give her too much. I'm not sure exactly, how much. I mean, I know she runs Lucasfilm, but
Well,
is she just the one, writing the checks and hiring people, or how much creative control does she really have, and doesn't she have? And it's hard to really.
yeah.
I think it's
Well, I
also
mean,
one of those things that whenever there's a show that, a Star Wars show that seems to flop, she seems to be the first one that gets all of the flack as to, oh, this is Kathleen Kennedy. But when you have a show that's successful, suddenly she has nothing to do with it.
well, it's kind of one of those weird things. Like, I kind of see where you're coming from on that. For me, it's like she's been in charge of Lucasfilm for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem I have is that, for one, Lucas gave an entire outline for what he had planned for a sequel trilogy and anything beyond that.
Yeah.
And she basically wiped her butt with it. And then got rid of the EU, which, while it was kind of parsed and kind of a little disconnected, for the most part, things were fairly consistent across the board. And Lucas was pretty big about making sure that if it fit within the scope of the canon, he allowed it to be made. Like, you couldn't just publish a Star Wars book; it had to run by him first.
Right.
And so he would read through the story, and he would expect changes to be made to make sure that it fit within the scope of canon.
Yeah.
All that got thrown out, and then when the more modern storytelling wasn't doing it, wasn't cutting the mustard, that's where they started, like, for a lot of the shows, that's where they started pulling from, and getting those elements back in. So things like Cortosis, characters like Thrawn. Like, I get that Filoni has been trying to Trojan horse Thrawn in for a long time, but it's at some point, it's you have to look at whose name is on the door. And when things go bad, and they've been steadily decreasing in quality, because they've been because they've been putting out quantity, they haven't been putting out quality.
Yeah.
With the exception of most of the animation. The quality has been lacking. And so because of that, because her name is on the door, she has to take ownership of that, because she is the person in charge. But a lot of the decisions have been coming from her, like her writers team, and the directors that she has selected, for whether it's Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy, or Leslie Headland, or any of the people that have stepped into it, who have no love for the franchise, and have taken it down I would say a not so great path. That being said, I think when she has stepped back and allowed for some creative freedom with people who do love the franchise, like Dave Filoni, like Jon Favreau, you get some really good content. The problem is, like, because everything is now under that Disney banner, Disney cannot help but capitalize. And that they become their worst enemy. Case in point, Mandalorian should have ended at season 2. There should be no movie. There shouldn't have been a third season. There shouldn't have even been shoehorned episodes where Mando fills in for 2 weeks on Book of Boba Fett. That should have been Boba's show. And the fact is, they basically castrated Boba Fett in the process. He was this beloved character, and everyone's like, oh man, he is badass coming back in that one episode of Mandalorian. Great. And that should have been a great setup. And it was. But then the execution of the show failed.
Yeah.
And
do you think? Oh, go ahead.
I was just to say, like, sometimes less is more.
Right. Yeah. Do you think that her reputation in Star Wars, like what she's done with Lucasfilm, how much do you think that's going to taint her overall body of work? And when you look back, because you look back and you see the credits where she is executive producer, and I mean she's involved in some of the biggest movies of all time: Jurassic Park, E.T., The Goonies, like huge major movie. Basically anything with Lucas or Spielberg. You
Yeah.
know, she was involved as an executive producer.
Yeah, but
But do you think that?
At that point,
Yeah.
she wasn't in creative control.
Yeah.
That's my point, is that she wasn't leading the charge. She was just financing it. And that's essentially what an executive producer does. She had no creative input on anything. She was bankrolling things. And that's great. I mean, she was hedging her bets and putting her money behind projects that were going to be really, really successful. Even if, like, I mean, let's take a look at Spielberg. Like his worst movie to date, hands down, has got to be, I would probably dare say, either War of the Worlds from 2005 or
1941.
Did he do that one?
He did. I think he did that. I think it was either him or Lucas.
Hold on. Let me look it up. From 1979. It was directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why. 1941 was a great movie. It was hilarious. It had a great cast.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It
didn't have the box office.
No, it didn't have the box office draw. But I mean, you look at his body of work, Spielberg especially. I mean, he's worked on some of the biggest projects. But I think the reason why War of the Worlds fell flat is because, one, Tom Cruise was at a point in his life where he was not a likable actor.
Yeah.
The character he plays is not a likable character. He's a deadbeat dad. And it's kind of hard to root for a character like that. Yeah. And just everything felt so desaturated and lifeless and just, you know, I mean, the visual effects and the action set pieces are great, but and it's very faithful to the 1950s film adaptation. But it was, again, it's a movie that we've seen done to death because we've seen the story before. Whereas, you know, the fourth Indiana Jones film, I think, is probably one of the weakest, simply just because it didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Like, I'm a firm believer, if your name is on the door, the buck stops with you.
Right.
And rather than taking ownership of that and just, you know, bowing out gracefully, I think she is trying to stay on as much as possible, hoping for a win. And whoever they do get to replace her, she is going to be working behind the scenes to basically prepare that person to do everything the way she wanted it to be done.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to laugh when that person basically just, you know, gives her the proverbial finger and does whatever they want to do, because that's what she did with Lucas. Because like she looked at him square in the face and said, yeah, we're going to, like, she taught, like when he was passing the reins over to her, you know, 13 years ago, and they had that big thing at D23, and he was like, oh yeah, you know, this is what we'd like to do. And he's like, I think Kathleen is going to be great for this. And she's like, and she started talking about George Lucas as if he was already dead. You know, doing things according to how George would have had them done, to his legacy. It's like, don't speak of him as if he's dead. He's there. In fact, he even stepped in to say, hey, I'd like to help out however I can. And Disney and Lucasfilm just said, see ya.
Yeah.
So I don't know. At this point, I think I would like to see more. I would just like to see them scale back. And as Brian has said, make Star Wars an event.
Yeah, I agree. You're just gonna have those people that are like, won't like that because they're like, we want more. But I think for the long term, for Star Wars' success, I think you're right. You know, as much as as much as they've had some good series, and they have. First 2 seasons of Mandalorian were great. Andor, first season of Andor was really, really good. I think they need to focus on movies, theatrical releases, and maybe animation, because that seems to be that seemed to have been their strong point.
Yeah, the animated series. In fact, I was just seeing a post on social media today. The animated series are probably the stronger entries when it comes to Star Wars, with the exception of the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian and the first season of Andor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind seeing an animated, like if you're to do, animated series of a Star Wars What If. I think we've talked about that before.
We've talked about that.
I think a series like that I think animation would work with a series like that. A What If.
At that point, I would just I instead of calling it What If because it feels too Marvel, I would go back to the old Dark Horse title, Star Wars Infinities.
Yeah, I like that. And
here's an
idea
specifically to Marvel.
Do it, but do it with like an anime style animation. Like
that would be good.
Each because it seems like all of the different animated shows that they've had a different style of animation for each one. The Clone Wars was very that kind of 3D type, and then you had a slightly different animation for Rebels and then Resistance. To have it like each show that have a different aesthetic and a different type of animation style.
They do. They try to keep the animation as. There's some tweaks and changes just because of the era that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of crossover and similarity.
I think the one place where that was different though was with Resistance, because that seemed like a completely different style. Like I can see the similarities between the Clone Wars and Rebels, but Resistance just seemed to be a very almost like an old school animation.
Yeah,
like very 2D and very.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm very much looking forward to the second season of Endor.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, with regards to the rest of Star Wars, I don't know. I'm feeling a little burned out, I guess, because there's just so much of it. I feel saturated.
Yeah.
And not in a fun, I'm immersing myself in something I love kind of way. I'm saturated in this like I just feel bogged down because there's so much content and very little of it is rewatchable for me. Like I could probably go back and rewatch season 1 of Endor. I could probably go back and rewatch most of Mandalorian. I could probably go back and possibly watch season 1 of Ahsoka, and Kenobi was I think might have some rewatchability to me, just so I can go back and look at it. But like I get tired of characters getting deconstructed. I'm tired of previously strong characters being emasculated and torn down for the sake of the female protagonists in the story. It is exhausting because from a good storytelling perspective, you can have well-written female characters who don't stand on the shoulders of male characters and ride them into the mud.
Yeah.
And whether the character's a protagonist or an antagonist or what, it's. And the other thing is, and this is an issue with Marvel as well, is we gotta stop having to do all this homework just to keep track of all these characters. Like, we talked about last week the mention of Phasma and the idea of having to was it last week or the week before? Like having to go through and read like a comic book and a novel
Yeah.
just to be able to understand her backstory. And it's like, that's all stuff that should have been in the film. We should know this about her, or at least we've got 3 films to expand on it. And we don't get any of that. She is a very one-dimensional character.
She is. Yeah.
So,
Let's say some. Do you think that it seems like, because the last Star Wars show we got was Skeleton Crew.
yes.
Which was enjoyable. It
enjoyable.
It wasn't like out of this world, like, wow, that's the greatest thing, but it was a fun ride. Didn't take itself too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, it was kind of, I don't know if it's a breath of the fresh air, but it was something almost like a palate cleanser after the debacle that was the Acolyte.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like, the Acolyte came out, everyone was just kind of like, ugh. Like even people who had been defending Lucasfilm for a while were like, everything Star Wars, even a lot of them were just like, yeah, that's not a good show.
Because at that point,
not good.
Because at that point, they like once that curtain was pulled back, you can't unsee that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like with the Wizard of Oz. I mean, he's like saying, "Don't look behind the curtain, ignore that man," but you can't because it's there. Like when you see something that has now been put to film and it's been released and put out there, you can't take it back. It's out there forever. And it wasn't like, I liked the concept of the Acolyte. The idea was great. There was so much that they could have done well with.
Yeah.
I will warrant that. The concept had me intrigued. The execution is where the problem was. People kept spinning their own ideologies and politics into something that should have had no connection to it.
Yeah.
You had characters who were not well. I mean, probably the most well-written character in the entire series was what's his name? The Stranger.
Yeah.
And even then, like his motivations are a little weird.
Yeah. I'm hoping with Endor season 2 that they don't try and reinvent the wheel, if you know what I mean. Like use the formula that worked in the first season and maybe make a few tweaks, but don't try and do something, don't try and go with a completely different, you saw what worked in Endor season 1, and just use that, use what works, use that type of, I think it might be a little, from what I've seen of the sequels, I think it's one of those things that, I think we talked about this before we're looking at the trailer and talking about it, is that I do think that it seems like they've learned from the criticisms from the first season, which was slow. I think that was the biggest, and they seem to kind of amp up the action a little bit, but at the same time, you don't want to go too far and make, and take what made Endor.
Yeah, you don't want to make the overcorrection.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they've, maybe kind of learned some lessons, because the last show, like I said, was enjoyable. I'm hoping Endor is equally, if not more, enjoyable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So what are we going to be talking about next week?
Next week is, I believe it is our movie review.
You would be correct.
And it is The Force Awakens.
Yes, we're now jumping into because we've been going chronologically through the films.
Yes.
Not chronological by release, but chronological as far as the sequence of the films. And
Yes.
Force Awakens is our next one up. So we're now delving into the sequel trilogy.
Yes, we are. All right.
I may have to get some gin for that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Brian's already done his blurb. I'm going to do mine. You guys can connect with me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books, The Archives of the Sync Ran. It's a currently 5-book fantasy series. I actually just got back into writing on book 6 this last week. I got really excited because I added like 3,300 words to a chapter I haven't touched in almost a year. So
Nice.
I'm really excited. But I also talk about my show, The Right Way, on YouTube, where we talk book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. In just about a week and a half, I have my spring preview on the last Saturday of March. And then the next week after that, April 5th, I've got 2 things going on. It's the start of my author interview marathon, Author Awareness April. And then that same day, I will be at my local Barnes & Noble store in Visalia, California, for those of you who are local. I'll be there for a couple of hours signing and selling copies of my first book, The Heirs of Menenias, and my newest book, Midnight Playground.
Nice. Oh, sorry.
And I just bored the pants right off of Mark.
Uh,
I do that.
All right. As for us right here, if you want to get a hold of us, you can do so at warthestars1@gmail.com. That is our email. Our Instagram is at war_of_the_stars1. And on X at warthestars1. YouTube, you can check us out at WOTS 77. Also, we are part of Feast of Fandoms. Check out Feast of Fandoms, all the cool shows. As Garrett's on Snackame, you can check him out there. Check out all the other shows. A lot of fun, a lot of good guys and gals there. If you want to support the show, Ko-fi.com, ko/fi.com/War of the Stars. Give us a cup of coffee there. That's kind of what it is. Just give us whatever you can. It helps out, helps keep the lights on. And yeah, or you can buy the cool merch at our Spreadshirt store. Go to spreadshirt.com/war-of-the-stars. That, have I missed anything?
Nope.
No, all right. All right. As always, remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.